UFC Fight Night Garcia versus Onama goes down this Saturday, and today I'm going over my full card predictions. Let's take a look at how we did last weekend, which was a negative day for me. It happens, it happens. Salkid came through, beautiful knockout. I thought the kicks were going to be something that he would lean on, and it didn't look great early, I will say, but he turned it around real quick and landed one of the nicest knockouts of the year for sure. Disgusting head kick. And the Mario Bautista Umar one, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Plus 500. I think Mario still covered. I think he competed pretty good. I thought he won a round where he dropped him. But I don't know. The rules seem to be very interesting. Specifically that Almeida didn't end up getting the win, where I kind of thought he should have gotten the win. And then Umar kind of does the same thing with Mario. Doesn't land a whole lot of damage, just a lot of mat returns, and doesn't even give... Now, let me say, Umar, I do believe, won 2 rounds clearly. But that one round, for spread bettors, I feel bad a little bit because, I didn't think it was 30-27, honestly, but it is what it is. Rebecca to win in round 2 and 3, I thought it was close. We could have gotten the round 3 there. Very, very tight. Not a bad beat, but I thought it was a pretty good read. But anyways, this one, I wanted to... I can't even say it on YouTube. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I really thought this was a great read. I thought this was going to be an easy cash. We were going to easily get this one, but that wasn't the case. Okay, it is what it is. But we'll hop into this card, where I think I've got some good reads on. Now, like I said before, I've been targeting more fights, and some of the fights I just don't have a read on, and I didn't do film on just so I can kind of target fights that I like a little bit more. And you know me, I'm a violence guy, so those are mostly the fights I have targeted. But anyways, I'm actually going to get started with this, and we'll start off with the first fight. Toledo Allan takes on Ariane Carnelosi. I don't know any of these ladies. I'm going to go with Allan Carr. I think her grappling should be good enough here to win this fight, but didn't look into this one really at all. Let's move on to Phil Rowe versus Seung-Hyun Ko. I did look into this fight a good bit, and right now they have Seung-Hyun Ko as the favorite at minus 190. I am a little bit iffy about this one, because Seung-Hyun Ko is a guy I'm not super high on, even though I did bet the spread against Oban Elliott, which was I think it was plus 285 or something for Ko to win a round, and he goes out there and dominates the fight. My issue with Ko is people are getting into this, in their head about he's some beast grappler, and that I just don't know. I think his grappling's good, but he doesn't use it all that much. Specifically, if you look at his fights, he really doesn't grapple a whole lot. Even on the regional scene, he's not a guy who really grappled a lot. And my hesitation here is, I do think he could hold Phil Rowe down and have success there. But I just don't know if he's going to go to it as much as people kind of think he really will. And like I said, I think his wrestling's good. He's got a Sambo background. And, Oban Elliott's a good defensive wrestler. But Oban was kind of initiating those positions, right? Ko wasn't really shooting a whole lot. It was really because Oban was trying to shoot on him, and then he'd reverse it, and etc. Now, I do think that Ko should be able to go out here and grapple, but I just think people are getting the wrong impression on him. He doesn't grapple that much, really. He takes on Phil Rowe, who I just not huge on either. He's super long for the division. Good straight jab. His volume's okay. He's a little bit flat-footed to me. And sometimes I feel like his defense is not very good. He uses kind of his shoulders to roll with shots, but his head doesn't move at all. Overall, I think Phil Rowe has some opportunities here. I think overall his striking is probably better than Ko's, who tends to leave his chin in the air, but overall does a pretty good job of neglecting damage. I do think that overall Rowe is the better striker. I will say that. But I think this fight plays out pretty close. I think Rowe spends a lot of time on his back, and Ko could do some stuff there if he decides to go ahead and take him down. But like I said, it's not something that you see all that often from him, really, in his regional fights. And he's been finished a couple times, and somehow Phil Rowe hasn't I don't know if he's been knocked out, but he gets hurt a lot. All right. And I was at the fight in Atlanta. It was an incredible comeback. And I still don't think it was a great performance. I do lean Co here, but I'm just not a huge fan of it. And I really did think I'd be bigger on whoever's side, right? I thought I targeted the matchup, and I did like it, but I don't really know if I like the fight overall, and I don't see a clear winner on either side. So for value, probably Phil Rowe's probably the side. But I do think that Co has more advantages, and I do think that his grappling is good enough to get Phil Rowe down and hold him down. But I wouldn't touch this fight at all for me. But I'll go with Co by decision. Let's move on to the next one. Alice Ardaline takes on Monsterrat Ruiz. Alice, she looked good in her last one, man. Her hands looked good. She's tough. I don't know what else to say about this one. She should win this fight easy. Minus 400 is something I think she might cover, but I don't know if I'm comfortable, throwing that on someone who's lost to Shauna Bannon. Although people scored it for for Ardaline, I just don't know if I'm confident putting that on someone who's lost to that, right? And Alice should win this fight. She's the better fighter. Ruiz is pretty bad, been TKO'd in her last 3 fights at women's strawweight, right? So I just don't think she's UFC level. I think Ardaline is probably the better fighter, and I think she wins this fight. So I'm going to go with Alice Ardaline. I'm going to go by a decision, and let's move on to the next one, where we got a high-level women's bantamweight fight. Norma Dumont takes on Ketlen Viera. I like Ketlen Viera a lot, man. I like the frame for the division. I think she's going to look way bigger than Norma, in my opinion. I like the kicks. I like the grappling a little bit more than Norma. Another fight I'm just not huge on in general, and you guys know how I feel about WMMA fights. I'm just not a big fan of betting on them. I just can't seem to read it right ever, really. But yeah, I'll go with Ketlen Viera. She's someone I've trusted recently, and I'll take her to win this fight. Let's move on. Donte Johnson takes on Sadriques Dumas. So yeah, Donte, really active fighter. What I mean by that is he's got in and out footwork. He throws huge combinations and fast combinations, and he's dangerous, man. I like what I see out of Donte Johnson. He's a southpaw. He blitzes in quick, and I don't think the matchup's good for Dumas at all. And Dumas is just not a good fighter. It's simple as that. He's just not good. And so yeah, overall, I'll take I'll take Donte Johnson here. I think he's the better boxer by far. I think he's better anywhere this fight goes. And somehow, even if Dumas is able to extend it and Johnson looks a little bit tired, I really don't rely or trust Dumas to go out there and get a finish, because I don't think he has any finishing ability, right? Even if Donte Johnson's on his deathbed, gassed out somehow, I don't know how, maybe if he doesn't get him out of there, I just don't think Dumas has what it takes to go out there and finish the fight at all. He goes out there versus, who was it? The Moroccan guy who's out of the UFC, and lays on top of him in half guard the whole fight, doesn't land anything, and the guy's dead gassed, Brundage is dead gassed, no finishing there. It's just I don't trust him to get a finish at all. So yeah, even if Donte Johnson has these question marks about his cardio, I don't think Dumas is a guy who can make him pay for it, right? So I'll take Johnson here, but I'm not willing to lay the money on him just because I'm not as high on him as other people are. So yeah, I'm going to go with Donte Johnson here. I think he wins by knockout. Let's move on to the next one. Chang Lee takes on Timmy Cuamba. Take a look at the odds here. It's coming down to a pick'em. Timmy Cuamba is actually moving down to bantamweight. I took a look at his Instagram story and Instagram in general. He looks absolutely lean and shredded. And I like Timmy's striking, man. He moves around a lot. He keeps his distance well. And his technique on his boxing and striking is beautiful, really. I mean, he really does have extremely quick hands, quick combinations, good kicks. And he's a very good striker. Chang Lee, little bit of an interesting fighter. I think, once again, people are getting the wrong impression on him. I don't think he's Korean Marab or Korean Khabib or whatever they call him. I think he's very mediocre, honestly. He's 11-1. I watched the fight actually that he lost because it's really hard for me to get a hold of his fights in general. I watched the fight versus Long Zhao, thought he lost it. And yeah, his game plan is to go to the clinch and work hard and kind of gas you and tire you out. But he's doing it against lesser opponents. And Long Zhao has some excellent takedown defense, by the way. And I don't really know if Chang Ho Lee ever got him down to the ground. But Chang Ho Lee just outworked him in the clinch, and Long Zhao doesn't have good decision making at all, so he didn't even try to break away from it. And at range, Chang Ho Lee's horrible, and you'll see that immediately. But he doesn't really accept being at range. He'll immediately go in for clinch or takedowns. And I just don't think his wrestling or clinch game is good, really. I just think it's the forward pressure and the pace that he's able to set on guys that makes him win these fights. Now, if Timmy Cuamba has some cardio issues, you best believe Chang Ho Lee's going to, expose them, right? Because Timmy Cuamba hasn't shown that so far. But yeah, man, Timmy Cuamba, I think he's way too skilled to lose this fight overall. I just think the striking is such a big differential. I think the way that he pulls fighters into his shots is really good. He's got a lot of good wins on the regional scene and beaten some tough and good grapplers in general. I do worry about his volume at times, but I think against Lee, there's going to be way too many openings for him to miss him, right? I think Lee shoots in sloppy. I think his entries into the clinch are sloppy. And I think Cuamba is a good enough counter striker to take advantage of those mistakes and tendencies that Chang Ho Lee has. Now, Lee, what I will say is he's a little bit dirty. He headbutts so many guys in his fights, and I've seen it over a lot of his fights where he just runs into the clinch and headbutts his opponents. So maybe that's something you'll look out for. But I think Timmy is a good fighter, and I think his defensive wrestling will hold up very well early on. And I also think he can take down Chang Ho Lee, who has been taken down a lot. Now, he is quick to get up to his feet, but Timmy Cuamba has taken some good fighters down like Balagioki and Lucas Almeida. And that Lucas Almeida fight, like, he was getting rocked and hurt and dropped. And he comes back and he wins the third round, which is kind of a testament to Timmy Cuamba. I think that's something really good that he showed. And, yeah, I like him to beat Chang Ho Lee. I think he can finish him too. Whether it's a knee up the middle, whether it's an uppercut, or just a straight right. He's got lightning quick hands, and I think his game at bantamweight will be just fine because I think that he might have been a little bit undersized at featherweight, but I think his speed will kind of like Jourdain a little bit, how Jourdain was really fast at featherweight and he looks super fast at bantamweight. I think that's how Cuamba will look, like really fast at bantamweight, even though, at featherweight he looked a little bit undersized. But I like Cuamba here. Maybe the weight cut's going to be a problem, but if it's not a problem, I think he wins this fight cleanly. So, yeah, that's what I think about this fight. I like Timmy here. I think he can potentially get a knockout, but I think his footwork and his skills are going to show, and he's way more skilled than Chang Ho Lee. And I know that doesn't matter all the time, but I really do think that Chang Ho Lee's wrestling, it just isn't that good. You know what I mean? So, give me Timmy here. I think he wins this fight by knockout or decision, and we'll move on to the next one. Billy Elekana takes on Kevin Christian. Ah, man, I can't do this one. I've got my problems with both of these fighters. Elekana, I just never can lay that kind of money on him because, one, he's a super inactive volume striker. He does not throw nearly enough, and what I will say about his striking is his footwork is good, and his feints are good, but he doesn't take advantage of people biting on his feints and throw, right? He just sits there and doesn't throw. And, yeah, like 2 significant strikes per minute, man. It's just not good. I think that Elekana has good footwork. I like his athleticism for this weight class, but I just don't think he throws enough, or I don't know, man. I just don't like his game, really. But he has the skills, you know what I mean? And he takes on Kevin Christian, who, this guy, I mean, he's just got the ability to just fluke someone because his striking is absolutely atrocious, but he's 6'7". He actually is quite, for a 6'7" guy, he's quite athletic, I want to say, but his skills are not there, especially on the feet. I mean, nowhere near on the feet. His skills are awful, horrible on the feet, but he does have a good ground game off his back. His ability to hold his opponents down on top is not great. And this is just a low-level sloppy fight in my opinion. I could see Kevin Christian being a guy who like somehow gets 6 fights in the UFC and just flukes a couple people with either like a random choke, gets like knocked down and just chokes someone, or just gets a random KO. But I just don't like any of them, honestly. So, yeah, I watched a film for this fight and just not impressed with either guy, really. I do think Elekana should be the favorite, but not by this much. So I'm going to pick him to win, but I'm just not confident putting money on him. We'll move on to the next one. I'm taking Elekana by decision. Allan Nascimento takes on Cody Durden. I haven't looked too much into this fight, but I do plan on it, especially because I'm seeing Durden at plus 220, and I like that a lot. I really like that because Cody Durden is a dog, man. He still is a dog. He's still really tough. His wrestling's very good. His top control is pretty good. His scrambling ability is very good. His striking and boxing is good because he's super aggressive. And, yeah, he takes on Allan Nascimento, who obviously the guy's got excellent jiu-jitsu. His striking is okay. He doesn't really throw hands a lot, and he's easy to take down. I think that people are kind of thinking, oh, Cody Durden's been submitted all this time. I just don't know, man. I think that Durden has a good chance here. Definitely shouldn't be plus 220 in my opinion. Yeah, he's been knocked out a couple times. I don't really think Nascimento is going to be looking to knock anyone out. He doesn't really do that, right? He's more of a submission guy, and Durden's just not some easy guy to submit just because he's been submitted 4 times. You take a look at the guys who's been submitting him. I mean, they're great fighters, Tagir Lembekov, and I think Cody wins on the feet personally, and I think he can win some exchanges on the ground. So I have a horrible stuffy nose. So yeah, Cody Durden, I think I'm going to pick him for my pick right now, but I'm definitely going to look into this fight. I do see it's a catchweight. So I think that Durden's going to be a little bit heavier, maybe, even though Nascimento misses a lot. But this is an interesting fight. I definitely don't see Allan Nascimento as a huge favorite, considering even with the Rafael Filho fight, that fight was close, man. And I bet on Nascimento there, but that fight was close, And I think just some poor decisions by Rafael Filho made him lose that fight, but he was in control early. I think Durden can win this one. But again, Durden's decision-making is sometimes not great. So it could be just Durden kind of burning me on this one if I bet him. But I like the dog in Cody Durden. I'm going to take him here for my pick, and we'll move on to the next one. But this is what I'm going to go ahead and watch film for sure. But we'll move on to the next one. Great matchup here. I know it's not the highest level guys, but this will be a fun fight for sure. Charles Radke's taking on Daniel Frunza. Frunza, he is interesting to me because in LFA, man, the guy looked good. Good straight shots, super dynamic and pretty explosive. His right hand is mean and it's right down the middle. I really did think he was going to piece up Reese McGee and beat his ass, but that just was not the case whatsoever. Frunza got cracked one time and dropped by McKee, who I don't really think is a hard hitter. You know what I mean? I don't see him as a guy who just cracks you and you're like, holy shit. But that's what it was, and Frunza got hurt multiple times in that one, and sure, he stood through it, but man, that's a huge concern. And I know Radke's coming off a knockout in his last one. And with Charles, his boxing's good. High guard, nasty left hook where he's very precise, and he's excellent timing on it, and it's one of his best weapons for sure. And even in the Mike Malott fight where he got finished, he was landing that left hook. And I thought he was competing quite well in that one. He did chase Mike Malott a little bit too much, and that is a problem for him against precise strikers like a Cortes who finished him, or like a Malott, who I do think is a guy who has underrated setups and underrated feints. And he ended up losing that one to Mike Malott. And Radke can wrestle a little bit. I don't really know if he's going to go ahead and take Daniel Frunza down, Frunza is a good scrambler. He can get put in bad positions and submitted, but I don't know if Radke's going to do that. I hope he doesn't, because I want to see this fight on the feet. But yeah, Frunza, super explosive, very dangerous and aggressive. But he also got dropped in that fight versus Coetzee in his DWCS fight. And it looked like the shot that he got dropped by looked like it went through the guard or hit the guard, and he just got rocked by it. So I think there's durability concerns on both sides of this matchup. Of this matchup. But I think Radke's boxing is just better, in my opinion. I think he's going to be able to find that left hook. And if not, I think he's overall just going to be able to put Daniel Frunza away. But this is a violent fight. I don't even know what the odds are. Minus 160 on Radke, I think is probably where it should be. I do think that I would cap the fight just right around here. But this is a violent fight. You know I like violence, so stay tuned for my betting video because I definitely have some on this. But yeah, we'll move on. I'm going to go Radke by first round TKO, but this is a banger and great fight. And let's move on to the next one. Issac Dulgarian takes on Yadier del Valle. Dulgarian's a guy I really like, man. I think he's super, super, super good, and I think he's going to be a very hard fighter to beat for anyone, right? Wrestling's incredible, super physical, super strong, gets after it immediately, big ground and pound, heavy top pressure, and good submission games. If this guy gets you in mount, man, you're in real trouble, right? Even got mount against C-Rod, who is an excellent defensive wrestler. Now, Del Valle has shown that he can offensively wrestle pretty well in the past. You know, he's able to take Michael Aswell's back and end up winning that fight where he did look a little bit gassed later on there. But I guess he's got pretty good BJJ. His wrestling seems okay. But, man, if you got to see these guys on their backs, man, for me, I think Dulgarian has a chance to look even better than minus 240. We haven't really seen what Del Valle looks like off of his back, and you best believe he's going to be there in this one. You know, Dulgarian's an absolute monster. I think it's going to be super tough for Del Valle to get him off of him. And in the striking, Yadier looks like he hits hard. I don't think his striking's anything crazy. I think he's a pretty balanced fighter. But you saw what Dulgarian did to a balanced fighter in Francis Marshall. He literally brutalized him. You saw what he did to C-Rod early on into that fight. Took him down. C-Rod didn't get up, and nobody's been able to control C-Rod like that, especially at featherweight. You know what I mean? Like, C-Rod is a very good defensive wrestler, and Dulgarian had him in all sorts of trouble. Put him in a couple submission attempts, big ground and pound, and C-Rod ended up winning that fight. Not really. He should have lost that fight 100%. Everyone knows it. And yeah, I think we're going to see something. I think Dulgarian's going to take this guy down and beat his ass. And it doesn't get any simpler than that. You know, Del Valle seems to be promising, undefeated amateur, undefeated pro. But this is a massive step up from Connor Matthews. You best believe Dulgarian's going to put this guy on his back. And he's really going to test that wrestling. And I think he gets him out of there in the first. So we'll see what happens. But I personally had to bet Issac Dulgarian. I can't pass up on minus 190 on him because even though I'm typically a guy who likes to see, you know, obviously Dulgarian's a wrestler. I want to see what Del Valle looks like off his back or if he gets taken down, but not a lot of people are shooting takedowns on him. And that was kind of the case with Francis Marshall. Not a lot of people try to take Francis Marshall down. And when Dulgarian did, he beat the shit out of him because he's a completely different level. And that's what I think we're going to see here. A completely different level of wrestling and grappling. And I think that Dulgarian's going to beat his ass. So I'll take Issac Dulgarian here. My first round finish. Like I said, I already have a bet on him. I bet him at minus 190. And I just couldn't pass that just because he is so talented. And I think he's looked over minus 190 in every single one of his fights. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Issac Dulgarian here. We'll move on to the next one where we got Jeremiah Wells taking on Themba Gorimbo. Another fight, man, I just didn't target too much. Themba, long for the division. He's got a good jab. His calf kick's all right. But this is just going to, another one. It's just going to be sloppy, man. It really is. I'm rooting hard for Wells here. I really do like his style. He's super aggressive. His jiu-jitsu is very good. His gas tank's concerning for sure. But he extends combinations well. He's super dangerous. Big power in the hands. And if he connects, man, he can send Themba out. You know what I mean? What the hell? Let's wait on that. I think that overall, man, the advantages for Themba will be there in the clinch. At range, I think he's the better striker, and I think the cardio. And this could be one I could regret because I do think that Wells is going to try to take him down and maybe do well early on, but I just don't know what it's going to look like later. And if Jeremiah Wells isn't able to get him out of there early, Like I said, don't know what it's going to look like later. And if it does get to that point, I think that Themba starts to take over a little bit. I'm not big on this fight at all, man. Like, it's seriously low level. Two fighters I'm not very huge on, so I'm going to stay away from it 100%. But we'll move on to the next one. I'm going to take Gorimbo by decision. We'll move on to the co-main event. Waldo Cortes Acosta takes on Delija. Cortes Acosta is 14-2. You know, solid boxing. He's got a hard calf kick. He's tough, man. Like, he's durable, you know. Anti's going to come after him and try to put him in bad positions, big combinations. Thought he looked good versus Tybora, where I picked Marcin. But yeah, Anti's super big combinations. He's dangerous. He hits hard. But I think that Waldo can weather the storm a little bit. And once he does, I kind of like Waldo's gas tank. And I think he's a super, super tough guy. I don't know what this is popping up. He's a super tough dude. I mean, this guy can really walk through damage and take a lot of damage. And we've seen that in the Pavlovich fight. We've seen that in all of his fights. I mean, I always reference the Rodrigo de Lima fight where he got his legs chopped up. Came back and won the third round in that one. Showed a lot of toughness and grit, and that's all he's shown so far. I'm going to go with Waldo here. I'm not too confident. It's another fight I'm not huge on. But I'll take Cortes Acosta here for my pick. This is very frustrating. I keep getting something that's popping up on my page. I don't know what it is. But we'll move on to the main event. Steve Garcia takes on David Onama. Good fight. I mean, how could you not love this fight? It's a great fight. Steve Garcia is my guy. I really like his game. He's super exciting, super fun to watch. David Onama brings the action. Super tough, recovers well. Good, solid striking. But I like Steve here, man. And I'll tell you why, man. Steve is the bigger fighter here. And there are times where Steve is getting hit. I don't know why this is doing this. You know, and he has been dropped and has paid for it. I'm going to refresh my page because I don't know what's going on. But anyways, I like Steve. And I think it's his unorthodox striking, and I think it's his quickness that's going to give Onama some problems. And Onama been hurt a lot. And he gets hurt in every single fight, it seems like. Literally every single one of them. You know, Chikadze hurt him. Santos hurt him, which is Onama's best one easily is Gabriel Santos. Even, what's that dude's name? The guy who, what's his name? He just lost to Cuamba by KO. Even that guy hurt him. You know what I mean? So I just worry about the durability. And if you're going against a guy like Garcia, who is probably the best at closing the show in the division. I mean, the guy, if he gets on, you get rocked and you fall down to the ground, Garcia is going to make sure the fight's finished, man. His elbows on top, his ground and pound on top, his aggressiveness, his violence on top is just next level, man. The guy really does see red in there. And I think that's going to be the tail of this fight. You know, Onama, his striking's okay. The guy has good clinch elbows and good knees in the clinch. His grappling seems to be improving, but you can't get hurt this much. And I could see him finding a counter on Steve, but I don't see it as much as I see Onama getting hurt by Steve. I think that a big straight left hand is going to connect with Onama's chin through the guard, and I think that Steve's going to close the show early. So I'll take Steve Garcia here by first round TKO, his signature first round TKO. Big statement win for him here. Give me Steve Garcia for the pick. I'm going to upload a new video tomorrow, hopefully going over my bets. So stay tuned for that. That's it. I'll catch you in the next one. I apologize. Catch you in the next one.